Hello everybody. Today I'm going to finish my thoughts on the parliamentary system so we can move on to other things. Another comparison I'd like to make is that when there's an election and we'll say, for argument's sake, Justin Trudeau wins the election. I guess we're going back in time. He's stepping down, by the way. The other parties, the leaders of the other parties, stay the leaders of the other parties. And this is something I've always wondered about. When you guys have an election, there's a winner, and then the person who doesn't win seems to just disappear into oblivion. Like, as an example right now, your Democratic Party, who is the leader of your party? In Canada, Kamala Harris would still be the leader of your party. She would still be out there being extremely vocal and pushing the Democrat agenda. And this is another thing with the parliamentary system, because our leaders of the individual parties spend their days in Parliament. When Parliament is in session, which isn't all that often, I think a quarter to half the time, I don't know, another guess. But when Parliament is in session, the leader of our country and the leader of the other parties, all of them, all five, and their constituents get together in Parliament and they argue it out. They debate. They debate on anything that's an issue at the time. So our leader, even though he's our leader, still has to spend many of his days defending his position. Can you imagine if your president now had to spend a quarter of his days defending his position in your Congress or your Senate? He would hate the job. He'd get thrown out. There is a Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House, his what he says goes. If someone is being disrespectful, the Speaker of the House can ask them to leave, whether they're the leader of the country or not. So we get to keep our leaders. Our parties keep our leaders. Our parties have an identity, right? I'm struggling to see where the identity of the Democratic Party is right now. It needs to belong with a person, a single person that is fighting for you guys. Why is Kamala Harris not out there beating the bushes and pointing out all this crazy stuff that's going on? This is confusing to us, and this is, again, wouldn't happen in the parliamentary system. And your president right now would hate his job if he was the leader of Canada, because he'd have to defend himself every day. And also what he would have to do is sit down and listen to other people, because they all have their turn. I'm struggling to imagine him taking his turn. I brought a list today because I want to make sure I get all my thoughts out so we can move on to other things. You guys talk about big government, small government. Your Republican Party is all about small government. I'm going to make the argument that the parliamentary system is a much smaller governmental system than the one you have. You guys seem to elect everyone. It varies from state to state. I actually went on went on the computer this morning to look up different things that you guys elect, and the states are all different. We elect our policymakers. We elect people who make policy and laws, and we appoint everybody else. People who get appointed are appointed because they've had a career in that field and they know what's needed and what's going on. For example, I think a lot of your states, or maybe even all of them, elect your police chiefs. Our police chief is appointed, moves up through the ranks. When you're electing somebody, that means they have an agenda. It doesn't make sense to me to be electing a police chief. Why should a police chief have an agenda? A police chief should be there to run his police force according to the laws that the policymakers have laid down, not what he decides is right during his term. And this is where I think you guys, you're kind of almost stuck with this large government, because you're literally electing everybody. I saw one elected official, he was elected to govern the mines of that particular state. Why would you elect somebody to govern your mines? I don't get that part. Up here, people are appointed. We elect very few people. Our election cycle is sporadic, but very short, very short. Your election cycle, because you elect so many people, seems to be literally nonstop, and that's not small government, in my opinion. I hope you've enjoyed this series on the parliamentary system. I hope it's been informative. And again, if you Democrats are listening to this and you find it helpful, please share these 3 videos, the first 2 and this one, with your like-minded friends. So take care, guys. We wish you the best of luck. We're all in this together. We gotta fight this.